VR template quick start guide. This is going to be a short video about how the hand animation works. This is probably not the smartest or best way to do that, and I've mentioned that in one of my comments here. This is stupid and you should find a better way. But it does seem to work for now. So without further ado, let's keep going. The blend spaces you need to be aware of are the big one is the no target blend space. And when your hand does not have a target, and grip target equals um, no target. Um, the animation of your hand is going to be entirely based on the grip and trigger axes from your controller. So the pawn is telling your hand, which is telling your animation blend space, this is what my grip button's doing, this is what my trigger button's doing. And here we have a 2D blend space that will show you, okay, so with this axis is the grip and this axis is the trigger. So when you're doing neither of them, your hand's just open, sort of like that. If you grip all the way, then you're just pointing. If you grip and trigger all the way, and that's a fist. And if you just trigger with no grip, then you give a little thumbs up, and then there's everything in between that the blend space just sort of automatically figures out. And so again, this is the no target blend space. I'm not holding anything, and I don't have a target for my hand in mind right now, and it's just based off of your controls. Okay, so when you do either overlap a target, if you remember from the VR hand, one of the things that it does is it finds item targets. So you can overlap a target, or you will, actually grab a target or start manipulating the target, and it'll tell your hand, hey, this is the animation you need to assume by sending two values. One is an enum of grip target, and so it tells you what sort of grip to use, either hammer grip, pencil grip, or a claw grip. You can just sort of imagine that there are different sorts of items. You might grip them in different sorts of ways. And then the next is the grip override, which is just a float value, which is going to tell it where in that blend space to go. So if we look at the hammer grip, it starts with this sort of my hand's kind of closed but kind of opened. This is the default for I have a target but I have not yet grabbed it. So it's going to start over here, and then depending on what the override is, will depend on the strength of this grip here. So if you're holding something that's rather narrow, maybe it would be up to 9. But if you're holding something that's rather wide, like a canteen, perhaps maybe it would be a 6 or a 7, and that lives inside of the item. It's the same thing with the claw. Starts with I kind of want to grab something, and then your hand actually opens up first, and then moves from this I want to grab to I want to grab something with a claw to depending on how large it is how much override I'm going to give it, how much strength I'm going to give to this blend space. The last one is the pencil blend space. Same thing with I want to grip it, and then just sort of collapses in, and the pencil would go in here. On the animation blueprint itself, here in the event graph, you can see this is where the messages come in, and it sets these variables. And then I've got this very silly, very stupid. Each variable as it's changing it doesn't change. I have it so that it interps from the variable that it was to the variable that it was set down here, and this just makes for a smoother animation. If we move over to I'm sorry, so this was the event graph. This is the animation graph. You can see that we basically it's blending the different poses together. It's actually only picking like one of them. And then here is where it's applying that override to the blend space. And then most of these, 3 of these will be 0, one of these will be 1, or they'll be in the process of being interpolated to that. And then it'll take that pose and then finally output that pose. And that was my not very good, but hopefully concise explanation for how the hand animation works.